She was so evil, grass won't even grow on her grave. Trigger warning. Jeanette sold her only grandchild for $75 to two strangers she had just met in a bar the day before. Willardine wrote, I was so ashamed that I didn't stand up and fight back and protect my child. I just let her take him. When my father got home from work, he came to my room and found me in bed. He asked me where was the baby, and I couldn't even look him in his face. I just rolled over and started crying. And Willie automatically knew Jeanette had done something to that baby. In his mind, he thought Jeanette had murdered the baby like she had their other child, so he went to confront her. Willardine said, when my father confronted my mother, it was a huge argument. My mother could not believe he was actually standing up to her for the first time. He was yelling, throwing things, pushing her, like actually standing up and fighting for this family. Sadly, it was all for nothing because the next morning around 8 o'clock, my father's body was found on the farm. My mom told everyone he had a heat stroke. He had a heat stroke at 8 a.m.? Okay. There were no cuts, scrapes, bruises, or blood. No injuries at all. It looked like he had just collapsed and fell asleep. But I knew the truth. I knew my mom had found a way to get rid of him without drawing attention. Damn, I knew she was gonna kill Willie, and now the girls don't have nobody to protect them. And that was when she turned her attention to her daughters, Willardine and Geraldine, who were still teenagers at the time. Jeanette looked at them like human incubators. They were young, they were fertile, they could carry full term. It all started when Jeanette came home from the drugstore with a bag of makeup. She told Willardine and Geraldine to get themselves fixed up and get on a clean dress, and that they were gonna go out and eat. And they arrived at a place that her mom calls the smokehouse. Willardine knew right then that her mom was up to something because she had never taken the family out to eat, especially not her kids. My mother grabbed our hands and she took us to the back of the smokehouse where there were 5 men in one room. She told my sister to lay down, and my sister started crying. Oh my God, I know where this is going. Trigger warning. My sister refused to lay down, and then my mom grabbed her up by her hair and snatched her dress off. So while this is happening to Geraldine, the 13-year-old, Willardine says that her mom grabbed her by the hand and led her to the front of the smokehouse where the owner was. This man looked me up and down and said, yeah, I guess she'll do. He said, don't you ever feed your kids? You know you'd make a lot more money if they had some weight on them. I begged my mother, please don't do this. Please don't let him touch me. I just had a baby 3 days ago. I'm not even healed up yet. I'm hurting so bad. He said, I don't care. And when he was done, I ran back in the smokehouse to check on my sister, and that was where I found her laying on the floor. She was only in there for 30 minutes, and these savage animals had destroyed her in every way possible, but dead. My sister was never the same after that night. Both girls wound up pregnant, but they have no idea what their mom did with the babies because sometimes she didn't sell them. Sometimes they just disappeared. Willardine thinks that her mom was sacrificing some of those babies because the ones that she didn't sell would magically disappear, and then she would later use their bones in what she called potions. 3 days after Willie died, Jeanette moved a man named Bob into the house and told the girls that was their new stepdad and he would be taking over the process of getting them pregnant. That man was a dangerous predator and he helped Jeanette hold those girls hostage for the next 7 years. Jeanette and Bob would also lure in young homeless girls and tell them that in exchange for a place to stay, they would have to get pregnant by Bob, but nobody knows what happened to the girls or their babies. This was all about keeping those girls pregnant so Jeanette could get her hands on their babies. So around 7 years later, Willardine and Geraldine finally escaped their mother's home through an older brother and start living their own lives. So years later, Jeanette's in her 60s and she contacts her sons and says, hey, I've changed. I'm ready to be a mom and grandmother. And believe it or not, her sons fall for it and they start bringing their families over to visit with Jeanette. Robert said, it was Halloween and my mom begged us to bring the kids over to see her because she missed them. So after some discussion, my wife and I decided to take them to her house. It was a big mistake. We took the kids to see her, they got their candy and we left. And by the time we got home, my son's mouth was bleeding because my mom had put shards of metal in his candy. Robert's son had to get 19 stitches in his mouth and tongue. Jeanette did that to her own grandchild, so they never went back to see her again. Her youngest son, Jacob, moved his whole family in with Jeanette because they had nowhere to go, and within a day, they found shards of metal in their food. His wife said, one day I got a weird feeling, so I walked in the kitchen, and that was where I found my mother-in-law putting my 2-month-old baby in the oven. I snatched the baby away from her and asked her why she did this, and Jeanette responded, because I wanted him to meet his Aunt Bertie. I remember in part 1, that was Jeanette and Willie's infant daughter, baby Bertie, that she had murdered and thrown off a cliff. Jeanette's family thought she would never die because she was so evil, but at the age of 96, she fell ill and was placed in the hospice where she then tormented the nurses and staff. She would lure nurses in and then physically attack them and constantly ask if they were pregnant or had babies. One nurse said, when I worked there, I was terrified of her. Her eyes didn't look right. They were black as pits. She scared the hell out of me. I kept a mini Bible in my pocket anytime I had to go in her room. She knew very intimate details about me and my family, even though we had never met her before. One time she asked me if my husband and I were still trying to conceive. I don't know how she knew that, but we were. 2 days before Jeanette died, she went into a mini coma for around 8 hours, so Willardine went in to say goodbye while she was unconscious, but as soon as Willardine walked in the room, Jeanette sat straight up and said, bitch, when I die, I'm gonna eat your soul. She was trying to hurt people even as she died. As the dying process started and her heart began to slow down, she was kicking, screaming, spitting and growling and biting. As she took her last breath and her heart beat the last time, she was still growling and snarling and trying to hit them. And to this day, no grass grows on her grave, not one blade of grass. I wish I could show y'all a picture of it, but her family asked me not to expose them. It's so creepy because every grave around hers is growing thick, tall grass, except hers is just barren. Every plant they put on her grave, no matter how much they water it and take care of it, it always dies within a few days. Whether it's a rose bush, a fern, or an azalea bush, it doesn't matter, it always dies. I bet it's because she was so evil, her soul